Welcome to Duo Chat with Brittany
and Cynthia, where we talk about drama shows
like Dawson's Creek, One Tree Hill, and more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany.
And I'm Cynthia.
And today we're talking about Season 3, Episode 7, titled Champagne for My Real Friends, Real Pain for My Sham Friends. That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Air day November 16th, 2005, and the synopsis is:
As the fantasy draft dates begin, Brooke finds herself on an unusual double date while Lucas gets closer to Rachel. Meanwhile, Karen and Deb take their campaigning to new heights.
oh my God, the opening!
With all these dreams.
Now, when does the dream start? And
well, it starts off with Brooke in bed and Lucas is behind her, telling her good morning when his alarm clock wakes him up. So it goes from that dream to Lucas being that was Lucas's dream, and then
so when he wakes up, that's what he was dreaming of.
and
then which part then does it go to?
It goes
someone else's dream.
Yeah, it goes with Chris and Lucas in bed, and then that's when Haley wakes up from that dream, and then she's talking to Brooke. They get in bed together. Then that's when Nathan wakes up.
Yeah, and because they're like, "Oh, let's make out."
Mm-hmm.
Because I was just like, they wake up, like each one of them, and I'm like, okay, that was your dream, but then it's someone else's, and then it's someone else's, and I'm like, oh my God.
So wasn't Nathan's dreams all together then?
That was my thing, was like, they keep waking up as if it was someone else's dream, but then I'm like, at what point is it their so-called reality, and then someone else's dream?
Yeah.
Because it was like one to the next, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all funny,
yeah.
but I just was like trying to figure this out. It was like, I don't know.
Then at school, Haley and Brooke are talking, and Brooke's or Haley asks Brooke, what did Lucas say about her not picking him in the draft? And Brooke says not much because she hasn't told him yet. And then she asks,
so Lucas and Brooke don't really talk, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting out of it.
And Haley hasn't told him either. And then Brooke brings up that her designs were a hit with the corporate big stuffs over at Suburban Filth, and that they might pick up her fashion or her designs for the fashion line. And then that's when Brooke sees Rachel with the other cheerleaders, including Peyton. And Brooke asks why is she talking to that troll, and Haley thinks Brooke is talking about Peyton as a troll.
I like when she called her a grouch a lot.
Yeah, when they greet each other.
I forget to say good morning, sneery grouch a lot.
Yeah, and Brooke calls Peyton her backstabbing supposed to be best friend and all. And then Rachel says she's leaving and then calls them overpossessive best friends with weird lesbian energy, and then acknowledges Haley. And then some of the guys walk up with Tim saying, play them or trade them. And even the caption on the episode wrote it as dim, saying that the guys.
That's because he said it.
No, it was before that. It already said, it was saying like as Tim saying it in the captions. So that was before Brooke called him dim even. So that was funny.
Didn't. Yeah, well, but that's not happening in the scene. But it was so funny because she was like, dim, I mean Tim.
No, I'm saying the captions called him dim when he was talking before Brooke even called him that. So that was funny to me.
Does it like tell you who's talking?
Yeah.
Like Brooke and then Peyton and Lucas.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
I don't watch with captions, so that's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know if it was AI or actual person that did that, but yeah, so Brooke explains it was a fantasy draft, and like the fantasies that he has about Nathan, not real. So they brought that up again after so long. But then Rachel asks what the guys have in mind, and Tim says dates, and they pay. And Brooke is about to say no to that, but then Rachel says they'll do it. And Bevan leaves to go get skills. and Tim asks who picked him.
And that's when she said, "You didn't even get drafted, you little Tim."
Mm-hmm. Surprised she just didn't call him Dim again. But
I know. I was like waiting for it. I'm like, Brooke, come on now. You love calling him Dim.
mm-hmm.
And we all love it too.
Yeah. So then Haley walks up to Nathan and asks if he's okay with this, and he says, "Why not? It's a group thing after all."
So at what point did Nathan find out that Haley drafted him? Because remember, he had a conversation with Peyton about Peyton drafting him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, how did you find out that it was Haley? Unless Peyton off screen, like off camera, said, by the way, Haley picked you.
Mm-hmm. Well, since all the guys found out about it, I want to guess that Rachel probably told him or something.
Yeah, but Lucas thought Brooke drafted him.
Well, maybe she told everybody but Lucas because she wanted to mess with them, so that would make sense.
Well, yeah, but Tim then didn't know either because he was like, "Who drafted me?" It's like some of them didn't know that they were either not drafted or drafted to somebody else.
Okay, yeah, maybe then Peyton told him. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like because Peyton is Team Nathan,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she probably off camera said to him just a heads up, like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I have a problem with? What I was thinking about was when Chris comes back to town, right? Haley acts like the rest of them. Like Chris is so gross and obnoxious and annoying when we saw her and Chris all playful and everything on tour. It's just weird how you had that bond with him. Now you're going to be like the rest of them, which is like, yeah, I just find it weird because I'm like, remember how much she liked him? Remember we saw them in, what was it, New York? And then now it's just going to be like, having that attitude. And I was like, I can see like Brooke and Peyton having that attitude, but not Haley, not somebody who spent months with this person.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess when she realized that Nathan was more important, she just kind of blocked out Chris like everybody else, maybe.
Yeah, but going from being like,
yeah, it is a quick switch there, but I don't know.
I mean, it's one thing if like, something had happened, like, I don't know. It's just really weird to like think about the fact that we saw them in New York and it wasn't like business. Like, I'm here on tour to do my thing. Like, we're not going to spend time together, blah, blah, blah. But they did spend time together. We saw it.
Yeah, maybe they had a fallout when she was about to leave. Like he was trying to get her to stay, and they argued. So maybe that was the thing.
Because it's just kind of weird. Because I'm like going from the happy Haley with Chris, even if they were just friends, he would still be your friend, even if he was your tour friend. Like, you still wouldn't feel that way if you see him again.
Right, yeah, because he has no, hatred toward her.
No.
He's like secretly helping her.
Right. And that's my point, is like, why is she acting? Brooke and Peyton can feel that way, like, oh my God. But Haley shouldn't, not when she spent all this time with this guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
And they were friends. I mean, hell, Lucas was jealous of them.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of weird.
And then Lucas catches up to Brooke and asks her what time he should be ready. And that's when she laughs and says it's the craziest thing. She got mixed up and didn't pick him.
Okay. How do you get mixed up, Brooke?
And
not pick him? Like, that should be the first person that whose name comes up when your name gets called.
Yeah, and she says it's Rachel's fault. She tricked her. And then Lucas asks Brooke that she could have picked him, but she didn't, and she explains, it happened wrong. And then that's when Rachel walks up.
Lucas, but I have a problem with like Lucas. Like he's smart.
Right.
It's really annoying because it's like he's gonna give her a pass at this, like of this mix up. What? I mean, come on now. Here's the thing with I love season 3, but I do think Lucas and Brooke in season 3, it's comedy, it's not taking the relationship so seriously, which I think wrecks it in the end. I mean, we know what happens, but I mean, because season 1 they were serious. Then season 3, it's like it's nothing. I mean, we're now into episode 7, and they're still not serious about this relationship. And that's why, like, when people are like, "Oh, like these two are the one," or like, they're not even taking it so seriously. It's annoying. Like, if you wanted Lucas so bad, how was there a mix-up? Like, think if somebody said that to you, if there was a draft and they said, "Oh, I got mixed up," you would be like, "How?" Like, if you want me, how did that get mixed up? And Lucas is smarter than that, and he likes her. So why is he going along with it?
Well, when Rachel walks up and says that Brooke picked Chris and she picked him, he says to Brooke at least somebody wanted him, and then walks off. So he did kind of like, give her like a cold reaction to that.
Yeah, but then the rest of the episode, he's all like, "She the one," and it's like, what? Like again, wouldn't you be upset? Like, think if that was Nathan and Haley, even when they were dating. Okay, like let's forget, their marriage for a second. Like, even if they were dating, and Haley would have done that, Nathan would have been upset.
Right.
Like anyone would. So the fact that Lucas is the rest of the episode, he's still going to be like, "No, I love Brooke." And it's like, what? But does she love you? Because what?
Yeah, and 304 with JC, I said that they were just wasting so much time doing this game. So
yeah, because when does the game end? I feel like it never does. It's always like comedy, comedy, comedy. You gotta get all the laughs, jokes, and then it's over. I feel like that's what season 3 is.
And then have you noticed that they keep calling him Chris Keller all the time when they refer to Chris?
Yeah, like everyone in town knows who he is, especially the group.
Yeah,
they
so
know who he is.
Yeah, they keep calling him by his last name, like as if he's like super famous or there's another Chris around, but there isn't. So there's no reason to call him by his full name. That's
the thing, is if there was another Chris, it'd be like, well, obviously. But yeah, it is. But think if there was a celebrity in town, would you sit there and continuously say their whole name?
No, not if the person knows who I'm talking about.
And if they're somewhat a part of your group. Like if somebody famous entered your friendship group, even if you hated this person, you wouldn't be saying their whole name. Maybe the first time so everybody understands, like, we get it. But then like after a while, it's like, y'all, we know who it is. It's just, that's what I mean, is I don't even think it matters if they're famous. I mean, it's still weird. It's one thing to like say it outside of your group because nobody will know who you're talking about. But yeah, it's just weird in a friendship. But is it because Chris refers to himself as Chris Keller?
I don't know. I was going to say that they call him that as much as he does. So
yeah. Well, and then they always make jokes of like, "Oh, you're talking in the third person," but it's like, you guys kind of refer to him as that. So, I mean, you guys kind of are responsible for it too.
Right. And then Peyton finds Mal because she picked him, calling him boyfriend and sitting with him, and mentions about going on a date together. But Mal says he has other plans.
For Mal though, like he was like, you don't have to do this. Like, I know this wasn't real, but I'm like, real. I mean, that's just so sad, Mouth.
Yeah, because he was so excited too that he was the first pick. So
yeah, and then he's just like, "Now talk." I'm like, and plus, like, Peyton isn't the person that would be like, "No." Like, just because I picked you, I'm definitely, Brooke's treating Chris Keller right now.
Yeah.
It's like Peyton's not that person because she is actually friends with Mouth. And
Yeah.
so that's why I'm like, what? Even if even if it wasn't like a date, like she still would want to just hang out with you as a friend, Mouth. Like,
Yeah, because
either one of them have anything to do. I mean, like everyone else has like relationships. These two are just kind of floating.
yeah, because Peyton treated him a lot nicer than Brooke did when she picked him for the auction.
I know she actually wants to spend time with him. Brooke was like, I guess I have to make it up to you. It's like,
Yeah.
don't, I'm not a pity party. Okay. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, Mouse says it's uncool, but Peyton says she's had enough of supposedly cool nights, so she's in. But then when she leaves, Tim sits next to Mouth and he
okay.
says, can't believe he didn't get drafted. He's
And
all sad about it.
Mouth's reaction was so funny because he's just like, I got drafted. Tim doesn't know that Mouth got picked, right?
Probably not.
Because it was just so funny because Mouth's just like, I got picked.
Yeah.
This is so awkward. But let's be honest. Of course, like, who wouldn't pick Mouth over Tim?
Right.
Like, sorry, but Tim, you're just never going to be picked.
And then Deb goes to see Karen at her house to let her know that Dan put up another campaign billboard over the highway outside of town.
I will say he's got a lot of money invested in this campaign.
And Karen says she knows, but if he's going to buy the election, then there's nothing she can do about it.
So don't you feel like, because remember, he was like kind of telling Lucas, like, or was it Karen, that like, how like there really is no competition. Like, I'm gonna win. If you were so, I feel like if you were so nervous that there was a competition, I feel like you wouldn't be going to that person's son. You wouldn't be putting up more billboards. You wouldn't be going through all this. You'd put up as little as possible because you don't want to spend money. Because it's just weird because I'm like, then it really, for him to put up another one, it's like, obviously, that there is a competition between you and Karen because people will vote for her. So because you're going through all this, but then you're gonna say it's not a competition.
Yeah, I think he's just doing it to like rub it in Karen's face that he has the power and the money to like put his face everywhere for people to see, and she doesn't.
Well,
she doesn't have that money.
And I think he just wants to put his face up so that she can drive around and see his face.
Yeah, and then Deb says she can do something about it and pulls a spray can paint thing from her purse and asks if she ever told her how ridiculous he looks with a mustache. And then at the apartment, Haley's getting ready for the date with Nathan. She's nervous and mentions to Brooke how she can't believe she's going that she's not going on her date since it was her idea because she physically threatened every person that didn't follow the rules. And then the doorbell rings. Haley goes back.
But Brooke didn't threaten. But I'm trying to figure this out. Brooke didn't threaten people that they had to go on a date. That was Rachel. All Brooke said was, you got to stick with whoever you drafted. That was all Brooke really said. It was Rachel that came up with this whole date idea.
That she would basically spill everybody's secrets if they didn't follow the rules and cut them from the team. So.
Yeah, but the rule was not to go on a date with them. The rule was you had to stick with that person and not fight over someone else's and take someone else's draft.
Yeah, true.
That was the whole thing. It wasn't you have to go on a date, and if you don't go on a date, you're going to be kicked off the team. Like, that's how Haley's making it. But that's what Rachel's idea was this date. It was only so you don't steal each other's draft. That was it.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with she has to go on a date. So for Haley to be like, well, you made she didn't make up the date. So she's technically following her own self by, she picked him, but she doesn't have to ever see him.
Yeah, and then Haley's being nervous, wondering where her shoes are, and it's funny because Brooke tells her that she's already wearing them. And then Brooke says she'll get the door, but she would rather tongue kiss a pus-infected sword than ever go out with Chris. And she
And
opens the door,
then
and
boom, it's Chris
yep.
Keller.
Mm-hmm. And he mentions how his date is already dressed for bed, and that someone looks a little horny for some Chris Keller.
Oh my god.
And then Rachel, yeah. And then we go with Rachel and Lucas. She asks if he's ready for their date, but he says it's cool with her. You know, he's
How
gonna
did you
keep
like
up.
how she just like walks in, doesn't even really knock. She just walks in his house.
Mm-hmm.
And again, not even just his house, his bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what if he was naked? I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he doesn't even want to go on the date. He wants to go see Brooke. Like, that's his only thought throughout the whole date.
But that's not Brooke's thought. Brooke's thought is not Lucas, clearly, because she didn't choose him. This is what I mean is for revenge, because, you know, these two, or at least Brooke loves revenge and everything. Like, wouldn't you then want to go on a date with Rachel to be like, you know what? You didn't pick me. So I'm gonna go on this date with Rachel. Even if you don't like Rachel. Like, I just feel like he should go on the date just because this person that you so called that you love never picked you.
Right.
It wasn't in her thought to pick you. I think that's the hard thing is like Lucas all of a sudden still loves Brooke, but she doesn't have those same feelings.
Right.
Do you think he loves her a little bit more than she loves him?
Yeah, definitely.
Because otherwise, why wouldn't you pick him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Rachel mentions, like, you know, I only was messing with Brooke when I drafted you, right? And she has a date with Chris Keller anyways. And Lucas says that Brooke wouldn't go out with him, and Rachel says she's seen Chris. He's kind of fine. And Lucas says, yeah,
But he
kind of
is.
he's kind of a jerk too. And Rachel says he's her type. But I still don't think they should have included Chris just because he's not, you know, a student there and he's like over age. But I know they did this for the drama.
I had a thing about this was when Chris comes to the door, my thought was, how does Chris know about the date? Because they only
somebody had to tell him.
Because the boys and girls only talked about it at school.
Yeah, maybe
how unless Rachel went over and told Chris, you got to go on a date tonight with Brooke because she picked you for this fantasy thing.
Yeah, she probably did that. Went to the music store.
Because otherwise, I was like, the only ones that knew were the people at school. And if your draft wasn't at school, then you would go find them. But Brooke wasn't going to find them, so I was just like, what? Because you know he's the first one there, ready to go, and it's like, how did you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of things they don't show us that they should have for this. And then Rachel tells Lucas they could, you know, get a workout at the river court, but they can go to Brooks instead, and she'll officially trade him if he wants. She can't torture Brooke forever. And then back at the apartment, Brooke is telling Chris whatever he heard wrong. She's not into him. And Chris asks if this means her and Haley are not going on dates. And she says no and starts pulling on his arm to kick him out when Nathan shows up.
And then he's like, oh, here for your date? And Nathan's like, yeah. He's like, what is it to you? And then that's when Brooke's like, Haley, your boyfriends are here. But then Chris, though, he was like, because Nathan goes, or no, was it Chris that said, wow, you look so, and then Chris goes, overdressed.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then Chris asks if the girls are ready, and Brooke says she's not going anywhere with him.
Now, when he says, are you girls ready? Who in their mind said that they were going on this double date? Like, why is it in Chris's head that they're going on a double date?
Yeah, I don't know, because that wasn't, I mean, we don't know, because like I said, they don't show us what's going on, but I don't think there's a rule about doing that for this whole situation, because nobody else did it, as far as we know.
No, that's what I mean is everyone else had single dates. That's why I'm like, why are these ones going on double dates?
Right.
I mean, couldn't Brooke have just said, "Yeah, let's go out," and then turn around and go home, like kick Nathan and Haley out, but then also once they leave, kick Chris out? Like, it's just weird because I'm like, why are you going on a double date?
Yeah, there's a lot of loopholes here.
Wouldn't you? Okay, if you were Brooke, wouldn't you have done that? Been like,
Not go.
yeah, what?
Done what?
Been like to Chris, yeah, let's go on a date, and then you shoo Nathan and Haley out to go on their date, and then you then you kick them out. Then you're like, cool, I get the night to myself.
Yeah, that would have been easier.
Because think about it, like, no, there was no thing of double dates. So the fact that these ones are all going on a double date is just so weird to me because I'm like, the easiest thing for Brooke to have done would have been shoo the first couple out and then kicked her own date out.
Yeah.
But the fact that now they're all going on a double date, I was just like, what?
And Chris says it's fine by him. He's good with staying in. And Haley tells them tell them that her and Nathan are going out. And then that's when Nathan said Brooke's right.
Nah,
and she's
I'm good.
Yeah. And then that's when Haley pulls Brooke to the side painfully. And as the kids say, Haley had to crash out, saying she joined cheerleading and stayed in the stupid draft because of who? Her. Now she's this close to getting an actual date with Nathan, so she doesn't suck it up and go out with Chris. Haley swears the only pus-infected sore she's going to be licking is her own when she gets through with her.
Do you think the guys could hear them?
Yeah, they're right there.
Yeah, it was just obvious. I'm like, they can hear that. It's one thing if she would have pulled her into the bedroom, but she didn't. It was right there in the open.
Right. Yep. And then she perks up, telling the guys are going after all. And then
all I know is Brooke got ready real fast.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. And then Rachel and Lucas are watching the four of them leave from her car. And Rachel tells Lucas sarcastically that Brooke is definitely staying home tonight. Lucas asks if they can get some beer before their workout because now he's like, it's like sunk in that Brooke doesn't care because she's going out with Chris. So
yeah. And of course in his mind too is like, Brooke knows what he did to their friends, Nathan and Haley. So, why would she do that to their relationship?
Yeah, he's just hurt and disappointed.
But also, there is a difference. Is Haley emotionally liked him, Chris?
Yeah, high connection. Yeah.
Brooke could care. Brooke wants him gone out of her, like never to be seen again. She hates him.
Yeah. And then Skill shows up at Bevan's and she brings him to the living room and tells him her parents are out of town for the night. So she is thinking of them staying in and watching a movie and maybe drink. And she asks him if that's okay. And he says it's better than okay. It's perfect. And Bevan mentions watching The Notebook and Skill says, how about he watches her and she can watch whatever it's called.
That was funny.
Yeah. And asks if he's seen it because it's the best movie ever. And he says whatever she says and calls her
Devin. My God. But then he called her Devin and she goes, Devin. And he goes, yeah, that too. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, he's
that too.
Yeah, he's just so focused on like how hot Bevan is. He's not like really listening, paying attention. So,
but shouldn't he? Okay, like Skills, like we love Skills. So the fact that he doesn't even know her name, I'm like, what?
Yeah, he's happy to be on the date with her after she was checking him out at school and everything. So he's just happy to be there. And then we go to Mouth and Peyton at the home. And Peyton tells Mouth she's been on some kinky dates before, but no one has ever brought her to an old folks home.
What kind of kinky dates have she been on? She went from Nathan to somewhat Lucas to Jake. And
right.
Who else has she been on a date with?
I don't know. And she says that's not the point. And she asks why they're there. And Mouth explains that this is a thing he had to do. Once a week, he reads to Mel.
Okay, this is weird.
Why?
Well, have you ever called your grandpa by their first name?
Well, if they maybe aren't very close, then maybe. Because we know about Mel. So maybe he's gotten used to calling him Mel because he doesn't remember Mouth being his grandpa. So he doesn't, he stopped calling him that naturally. Because he can't do it for to him, so maybe that's what happened.
Huh?
So like sometimes like in my case, like I had a friend that I called by like his shortened name instead of his full name. And that just happened over time. But then when I stopped being friends with him, I went back to calling him by his full name, just naturally without even thinking about it. So like I said, maybe.
Yeah, but your grandparent.
Yeah, like I said, Mel doesn't remember who Mouth is. So Mouth just naturally. And they're not close because Mel doesn't remember what's going on. So it's just hard to have a relationship with him now. So.
Yeah, okay, but I had a grandma that I wasn't the closest to.
Mm-hmm.
And she had an aneurysm way before we were born and stuff. And she couldn't remember and like really anything. She didn't know, like she knew names in the family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she would just like look at you but say like a couple different people and you're like, okay, like you just go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so she didn't know. So it's like Mel calling him Joe. It's like
Mm-hmm.
that was our life. Was she would just say someone's name and you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
But we always called her grandma. So it was
Right.
weird how he's like she didn't know that. She didn't know we were calling her grandma. She didn't know we were her grandkids. She didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
For the respect of it all, and that's just what we did in the family, is that's your grandma. We're gonna call you grandma.
Yeah.
That's what's weird to me.
Yeah, I just like they're basically strangers, Mouth and Mel, so I can get that. Like I have a grandparent that died when I was really little, and well, I didn't like him, so that's why I never called him Grandpa in the first place. So I didn't call him by his name. But yeah, I don't know. That's all I can think of is that Mouth is kind of distant from Mel because he can't have a relationship with him. So that's why he just called him Mel because he isn't. Yeah, because Mel doesn't remember that he's has a grandkid and everything. So that's how I
Yeah,
see it.
but that doesn't matter. Like you know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point, is the respect of you know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to respect him by calling him grandpa. And especially if you're referring to him to somebody else, you probably should say, "This is my grandpa, Mel."
Yeah, well, they did probably do that for the drama too, because he didn't tell Peyton until the end. So
That's what's weird, is how do you not say this? Mel's my grandpa.
maybe just because it didn't, seem that way when they were talking to him, because he was calling him Joe and everything. So Peyton just saw it as like a volunteer thing until the last moment. So
I know, that's what I thought it was too, was this oh, that's nice, the mouth volunteers. But then it's like, but then he says, "This is my grandpa." And I'm like, why didn't you say that at the beginning? Like, did he think that it was awkward or weird to tell Peyton, "I'm going to visit my grandpa"?
yeah, I think just because he doesn't remember everything, that's what made it awkward for him.
So instead, he just puts it as some stranger that I just go and visit. That's
Yeah,
even
kind
weirder.
of. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I just don't like it because, again, I had that in my own family and I would never have wrote it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's to me, it's total disrespect
Mm-hmm.
on all parts.
Yeah.
Now, there are people in my family that I don't call my family, but they're people that lost titles,
Mm-hmm.
And I call them the worst names in the book, and that's that. But I
Yeah.
wouldn't
Well.
say Mal lost respect, though.
Yeah. Well, I know a girl that calls her parents by their names, so it's different for everybody. So.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Their first names?
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they go to Mel's room. He's watching TV. He calls him Joe, and then he even calls him Mouse and invites him to his
Oh,
room.
that was funny because Mouth was like, "It's Mouth," and he goes, "Yeah, Mouse."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, it was funny.
Yeah, and he gives him the newspaper that he reads all the time. But then Mel notices Peyton and drops a newspaper.
Oh,
And
she's
Peyton,
so beautiful.
yeah, he flirts with her. He tells her to sit
Oh.
down and makes Mouth move because he was on the recliner already.
Well, and then he was like, "What do we have here?" And she goes, "We have a Peyton."
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "That's a pretty name." Like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
god.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then Payne tells Mel he has a great place, but he says not really, smells like old people.
It's funny.
Yeah. And then, Mel shows Payne a picture of his race car days. And Payne calls him a handsome devil, and he says that they called him Fireball because he was kind of fast with the ladies. And then that's when Payne says to Mel they should spring him for the night. And because the place is depressing, and Mel says they can't.
Yeah.
But Payne ignores him and calls Mel Fireball and asking him if he wants to do a little driving with them tonight. And Mel tells Payne that he'd rob a bank if she acts nicely. And
I think that's the thing is like if Mouth would have just said it, like, why? I don't, because he was just acting weird the whole time while Peyton and Mel are having fun, until the end.
Right.
But what I thought was funny was that when Mel told Mouth, like, don't ruin this for me with Peyton, I was like, oh my God. It was so funny.
Yeah, he said he was going to beat him to death with his race car helmet.
You didn't laugh at that?
No, I did, yeah. And then the camera zooms into a picture of a beach on the wall as a segue to the beach where the double date is.
So this episode was one of those episodes that, and it started that way with the dream segues, but like then it goes into if somebody said a line, then it goes into someone else saying the same thing, and or it goes into a picture, and I'm like, all right, that's this whole episode is like that's how we're gonna navigate this show. I mean, I liked it. I think it worked, but it was just kind of funny. Because sometimes I don't like it when they do that. But because you're like, oh, really? But this one was actually good. Because then the double date is at the beach. And what I had a weird thing with Brooke was, how does Brooke not know that they got married on the beach? I thought she's friends with these two. It's weird that she didn't know that they got married on the beach.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I feel like everyone knew that.
Chris is saying he doesn't get why they're at the beach because the girls there, they're a big tease because they strip down and sometimes they go topless but never nude. And you can't touch them like a strip club.
But then he did.
Yep.
You can't touch him, but I'm going to touch her. Or I'm going to touch her. What?
Yeah, a random woman. He puts $1 underneath the waist.
Smacks her butt.
About him. Yep. So he, hasn't changed. And then Chris asks Brooke why they're at the beach, and Nathan explains this is where him and Haley got married. And then that's when they go up to the spot exactly where they got married and find out that it's like, yeah, make it, made into like a little neighborhood with new houses or whatever. And Haley's heartbroken, describing what used to be there. And then Brooke reaches out to touch Haley's arm, comforting her, and tells her they should just go to the mall now. And
I thought it was funny because when Haley was like, "It's like paradise," and then she's like, "It's gone," and then like, "Paradise gone" seems appropriate.
And then Deb and Karen are at the billboards. Karen and Ladder. Karen is having second thoughts. She's worried about them getting caught. And Deb tells her to stop being responsible. And Karen said she can't help it. It's who she is.
So I loved Karen and Deb. Like, I love their friendship. It's not really something that you see on teen shows is the adults, first of all. But secondly, the adults having a lot of scenes like this. Like, it's just fun to watch them. And like the two of them, they just work so well together. And also, remember on Dawson's Creek when we would say like all they could do with Dawson's parents was get a divorce and then remarried. And I remember we're like, this is all they've got. And then they were just not in episodes because they didn't know what to do with them. Well, it's like, here you go. Give them storylines. Like how can you tell me you don't know what to do with adults?
Right.
When you're an adult yourself. I don't understand this, but yet One Tree Hill did it. So that's what's weird is the only thing they could come up with was a divorce. Yeah, One Tree Hill's doing a divorce too, but it's funny.
Right.
But they're also doing more than that. So that's why it's interesting. And I like how the show is like adults, their
Mhm.
scene, but then you got the kid scenes.
Yeah.
You kind of have it all, where Dawson's Creek, it was like the kids,
Mhm.
and that was it. And,
Yeah.
it's not always fun to watch.
Mhm. Yeah, and Deb reminds her of the campaign commercial that Dan had, making her look psychotic. And she tells Karen that vandalizing the billboard is harmless fun. They'll paint a mustache on him and black teeth. And she reminds Karen that she wanted to do this, and Karen says that was when she was stuck in the construction traffic, um, staring at his face, and now she's a chicken. And Deb says when she's stuck in traffic tomorrow, she's going to wish she joined her. So then Karen gives in and helps Deb with the ladder and says she can't believe she's doing this. While we segue to Lucas and Rachel, where he also says he can't believe he's doing this. And Rachel says, so Brooke is on the date with Chris and it doesn't mean anything. And Lucas says it does, because Chris has caused a lot of trouble, like you mentioned before. And Brooke knows that. And Rachel asks, what's the deal with him and Brooke anyway? And Lucas explains that Brooke isn't ready to commit. And Rachel says that's what she usually tells guys when that she's not really into. And Lucas adds that Brooke wants to make sure he's serious about her, plus she's the one. And Rachel asks why, and Lucas answers she just is. Not
No
much of an answer.
explanation. Yeah, she just
Mhm.
is. Oh, okay. Okay. Here's my thing about this: is
Mhm.
I feel like if she was the one, right,
Mhm.
you wouldn't have cheated on her.
Right.
I mean,
Wait,
let's
how do
call
you cheat?
with Peyton.
Oh, I was thinking this season. Yeah, yeah.
Well, he's not really doing a fine job right
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I mean. They could never truly. I feel like they could never truly get over what happened,
Mhm.
because here they are. They're back together somewhat, but if they're not in a real relationship,
Mhm.
they're still playing these games.
Yeah. Yeah, he says he can just feel it, and then he quotes a quote from
You can
Pascal.
feel it.
Yeah. The heart has reasons that reason cannot know, he says. And Rachel asks what did Pascal say about Chris, and then she apologizes for taking a cheap shot. And then she explains the game. If he misses a shot, he drinks. He makes a shot, which he ends up doing. And she drinks, she says. And then she says it was a bad idea and then takes a sip of a drink. And then we segue to Mouth saying that this was a bad idea as he's behind the wheel of a go-kart. I'm surprised that they were able to be on these go-karts this late. So I don't know how they got in there, but Mel is behind the wheel of another go-kart, having the time of his life. And, tells him not to quit complaining and grow a pair. And the race starts, and Mouth is anxious for Mel, telling him to be careful. And then back with Bevan and Skills, the movie's playing when Bevan notices she's the only one watching. So she asks Skills if he's going to watch it, and he says he would, but he can't stop watching her. And Bevan then kisses him and says there's more
Skills
of
is
that
so
if he
funny.
watches the movie. Mm-hmm.
I love Skills.
Yeah, so then this makes him watch it. And then back to Deb and Karen, who are now on the ledge of the billboard. Karen wants to get it over with quickly, and Deb gives Karen the spray can, who says no because she said she wanted to do it, and she pushes Deb to do it. And Deb uses the paint to write Dan as an ass with a mustache to match. And just then, a bird scares Karen, making her fall back, and Deb catches her, and they knock the ladder back to end up leaning on a tree.
That's kind of a hard fall.
Yeah.
When I watched it, I was like, oh, how's she not like bleeding or something?
Mm-hmm. Bruise, yeah, at least.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm. And then which segues to Brooke saying, because they said uh-oh, and she says uh-oh when they're at the mall. And she sits down with Haley after shopping and asks not exactly the magical night you had planned, right? And Haley says she wouldn't say that, being in a crowded mall and Nathan ignoring her. He's playing an arcade game. And she says Chris is stealing change out of the fountain, which is funny. And then her night with Nathan was supposed to be a dream come true, not this nightmare. And Brooke tells her to keep the dream alive. She'll talk to Nathan. So I did like how she did this with Nathan because she unplugged the machine while Nathan was still playing it.
Well, yeah, because he was not listening. But also, you have to think too. You're not supposed to unplug a machine
Mm-hmm.
that isn't yours, that's at a store or the
Well, I think
mall.
it was like in the hallway of the mall for some reason, but yeah.
You can't just run around unplugging things.
Yeah, she should have got in trouble for that. Yeah.
Yeah, like where's security?
Like I know that it erases like all the scores that was that was on there before. So
Well, especially because it wasn't saved. He was in the middle of it. So
yeah.
I was like, that was weird. But then she told him that two-part question, why the hell haven't you beaten the stuffing out of Chris Keller yet? So I can go home. And then if you were just gonna ignore Haley all night, why did you come? And
Yeah,
then
that's a good point.
yeah, and then she said, Haley still loves you. And then that's when and then she said, all you gotta do is take her back. And he's like, kind of like you and Lucas. I'm like, this is my thing, is like, it's a good thing that it was Nathan and Brooke talking because they can actually understand.
Yeah.
So I do think Brooke was kind of like, oh, okay. Like, I get it.
And Nathan tells her that it's not so easy getting back in the rain, especially with the one that knocked you out in the first place. I think she can relate to that too. And then Haley walks over to Chris.
Oh my God.
Having him give her the change and throws it back into the fountain. And Chris asks what she wished for.
And she said that Nathan would have bludgeoned him to death or bludgeoned him.
Yeah.
And then she said that Brooke and her wondered why he hasn't already. And then, okay, but when he said maybe he's afraid of me,
right?
Like, what?
Yeah, sure, Chris.
Nathan Scott afraid of Chris.
Yeah.
And so
that's when Haley's laughing. Yeah,
that's when she's laughing, and he's like, or maybe he doesn't care anymore, and then doesn't she stops laughing? But okay, if he didn't care, would he have shown up then?
No,
he would have stayed at home playing his video games.
Yeah,
he would have done anything else. But I do agree with Brooke of like, you're ignoring her. So why did you come? Especially because, you can just stay at home. What was the point?
Yeah. And then
I do agree with that. What is the point of Nathan going?
Right.
I don't get it.
And then Chris is helping Haley out because he puts his arm around her. And but she swats it away, telling him to stop it. And Chris tells her either he gets jealous or Brooke and him have a threesome. Either way, it's a win-win for her. So he puts his arm around her again, and Nathan hears her say no. So he walks over to them. And Chris tells Haley, this is good news for her.
Good news for you, bad news for me. I was like, oh my God, Chris. But again, Nathan didn't punch him.
Right. Yeah. So Haley gets up and
so sad.
Yeah, and says she told Chris not to.
That was annoying.
Yeah, and then Nathan tells Chris to back off, and Chris says he thought someone should be nice to her tonight, which kind of had a point there because he was ignoring her the whole time until this part.
Well, and then Brooke was like, "What are you doing to Haley?" And because she was like, Nathan's vulnerable, and you're practically giving him a lap dance. And then Haley, I didn't do anything. But it's kind of like, are you serious? Here we are, little victim Haley. It's like, Haley, come on now. Are you serious? Why are you getting that close to Chris? Like, I don't even know why people are on this double date. That's the thing is, why is Nathan on a double date with Chris? Of all people in this town, he is going to be on a double date with Chris? What?
Yeah, so Brooke says she, does she mean besides, kissing Chris and running away with him? She then says she's leaving. This whole thing has gone way, beyond the point of bizarro. And Haley follows her and says does she mean bizarro, like messing with Lucas and then hiding all those letters under her bed? Which is not good. That's kind of like how when Dawson read Joey's diary.
Yeah, but then I thought it was funny because like Chris hits Nathan and is like, "Hey, check it out, catfight." Like, oh my God. And so then they follow.
And Haley was explaining that she just bumped into her letters because she was trying to maximize on the 2 feet of storage space that she gave her so generously. And then Chris goes after Brooke, but everybody follows her, and Haley tells her there's no way she gets to walk out of here when this whole stupid night was her idea. And Chris tells Brooke to not go while Nathan is just after Chris for putting his arm around Haley.
So I liked when Brooke ran into the store, outside the store, and saw her clothing that she designed. Also, though, wasn't it pretty fast?
Yeah.
Because wasn't it like last episode or something that they told her to get some designs?
But before they saw that, I thought it was funny how Nathan told Chris that the night's gonna be over if he touches Haley again. But yeah, that was really fast. And then like they didn't tell Brooke, she had to find out like this way, so that was bad for her. But it was a good moment for her to see that, her dreams can be a reality after all with her designs.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just taking it in, and even Chris thinks this is cool.
Yeah, he thinks it's cool because he wants to celebrate.
Yep. And he puts his arm around her, and Brooke is too happy to even care about Chris touching her.
I know. She's just so in love with her designs and like just in shock. And then there's Chris, and I'm like, not even slapping his hand.
Yeah, it's kind of like Luke. It's like Skills and Bevan, basically. And then Deb and Karen are still
but those two like each other,
right? Yeah. I'm just saying, like, the whole not paying attention thing. But then Deb and Karen are still stuck on the billboard, and Karen goes to call Lucas, but then she remembers she left her phone next to Deb's in the car. Yeah. So that's the difference between then and now. Like, we have our cell phones with us, like, on us all the time, But back then, it was kind of like not a big deal to not have your phone on you. But yeah, so I think that was a bad call. Like, one of them should at least have their phone on them. But
well, they didn't really think that they were gonna get stuck up there.
Yeah, but like if they had camera phones, I would have been like taking pictures after they did it.
They could from the ground.
Yeah, but I think it just would have been better if it was up close too.
I feel like there's a difference between adults
and
kids
with taking pictures.
No, with phones.
Oh,
like adults don't need, except for our generation, but like our parents' generation, they don't need phones 24/7.
No, but before
our generation and all younger do.
But before cell phones were a thing, my mom took pictures with her, portable camera all the time. So it's just like the phone thing like made a difference. But yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, adults don't really need, especially back then, like that generation, didn't need phones 24/7. They could live their life without a phone. Where like our generation, they're glued to it.
Yeah, because my mom goes around the house and leaves her phone like upstairs when she's downstairs all the time.
Yep.
So
mine too.
And then Deb starts screaming for help, and Karen tells her not to do that. And Deb asks why, because they're stuck. And Karen says that because they're going to look like a couple of jackholes, because they can't see jackass, I guess. That's weird to me, but Dan will win the election for sure.
Didn't she call him? Didn't Karen call him a jackass to him?
I don't know. I know they said jackhole before. I don't know about jackass, but I don't know. They couldn't really swear at this time on TV, but
because I thought she told Dan he's a jackass.
I don't know.
Like in season 1 or something.
Maybe, I don't know.
But then, but it was weird because she says that, but then she says the highway is closed because of the construction, and I was like, so then which one is it? Wouldn't it have just been you? Why are you yelling? Because there's construction. Like no one's gonna hear you because no one's on the highway. Instead of we're gonna look like jackholes. Like what?
Yeah. Deb then apologizes, saying that this is her fault, and Karen sits next to her, saying that she was a one. Yeah. And Deb clarifies that she's sorry for all of it. She should have never agreed to stay with Dan during the race. She just wanted to believe that he'd leave Nathan alone. And now she knows it's probably a lie, and Karen tells her she has to get out of that house. But like when they did this deal, like Nathan wasn't even mentioned. So I don't know why she's like thinking Dan's gonna like not take his word for something like that about Nathan. So I don't know.
When did she?
It was 3 or 4, like what I call it the Halloween episode with the party, but
that she signed.
yeah.
So at that
And
point, Nathan was living at home.
yeah, and they didn't talk about Nathan at all, so that's why I'm confused on why she thinks that he was part of the deal. So
Well, I think the whole thing is she thinks that if she gets a divorce, Nathan will choose her
hmm
and Dan will just have to stay away.
right.
Like it was supposed to happen in season 1.
hmm And then Deb admits that she's just afraid of being on her own. It's always been that way, and Karen tells her she's not gonna be alone, she's gonna be independent. And she says to Deb that she sees strength in her every day.
Wasn't she kind of independent though in season 1 when she was out of town all the time working? Like that's independent. You're not at home 24/7 needing somebody.
Yeah, I think she just means like completely alone, because at least, when she did go home, Dan was there. So I think she's just like afraid of like being alone, like living alone and everything too.
Well, she's
Even if
got
she has
Nathan.
Nathan. Yeah, I'm just saying, like she was used to having a partner all the time, so it'd just be like a weird transition, like a real weird feeling to just be alone like that, a single
Yeah,
parent.
but did she really have a partner? I mean, it was Dan.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to say how she's feeling, because Karen's been like this forever, so she knows what it feels like, but Deb doesn't. So
Well, I like that Deb can turn to Karen because like Karen can show her the ropes of her life.
hmm
Um, and so I like that because I mean, because sometimes when you're feeling that lonely and stuff, sometimes you don't have somebody to turn to, but
hmm
here she does. And I
right,
like that.
yeah.
Well, it means she probably won't go far, like deep in the hole, right?
hmm And then she tells Karen to take off her clothes. Karen laughs, not thinking she's serious at first. And then we go back to the go-kart track. Mel is still driving while Payne and Mouth are talking. And Payne tells Mouth he's a good guy. It's nice of him to spend time with Mel. It says a lot about him. And she bets he's going to have it all one day. And that's when Mel says he's thinking about running for senator and admits that he got the idea from Brooke. And then Payne mentions that Mel probably won't forget the night for a while. And Mel tells her that he probably won't remember it because he has Alzheimer's. And he was married for 50 years and doesn't remember it. And they talk about the memories. Mel's forgotten it until Mouse mentions that they should take him back. And then back with Skills and Bevan, he's watching the movie while she's kissing his neck. Skills is stuck on the fact that Noah's building Allie her dream house when he doesn't even know she's coming back to him.
I thought
And
it was so funny because like Skills is so into the movie now.
Yeah, so Bevan tries to pull him into a kiss, but he stops her because he still wants to keep watching. And Bevan says she's going to get a drink, and Skill even cheers Noah on to write letters to Allie.
So are they drinking?
We didn't really see it, but yeah, Bevan
Well, I
wanted to
saw
at least.
drinks, but it could have been just a Coke.
Yeah, I don't know. Usually when people say drink, they actually mean like alcohol and not like regular.
I know, but I'm just saying, I wonder if it was, I don't know.
I don't know. Like teenagers always drink in these shows, so that's why I figured that's what it was.
Well, it probably was, but I'm just saying because they did show a drink, but was it just Coke or something?
Yeah. And then do you remember this episode of Drama Queens? Because most of it, or at least a good quarter of it, was about Joy actually like creating the Broadway show for this, The Notebook. Do you remember that? She played her songs for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was surprised because the episode was 2 hours long. That was like the longest episode so far. So I was surprised that it was just like mostly the music playing. But it did sound good. And too bad she doesn't have the rights for it anymore. But yeah, they were talking about how this episode's like kind of like a lot about the Notebook with losing your memory and everything. But yeah. And then we segue to Chris talking about the letters Brooke wrote to Lucas. And Brooke asks if they're talking about her or celebrating her. And Chris says they're celebrating her. And he makes a toast to her sketches. And Brooke says they already drink that to them for 20 times. And he says they drank to her designs like 20 times. And then they drink to her clothes. And now it's her sketches. And they toast to her sketches.
I have a issue with this whole thing. Is as these two are inside on the couch, you have Nathan and Haley outside on the balcony, which is fine. But why is the door open the whole time they have their balcony scenes? Why is the front door open?
Yeah, I didn't even notice that, but
And also, what color is Brooke? Is Brooke's bedroom?
I didn't pay attention to that.
Because, like, you can see all the way straight down, all the way to the bedroom. And I was like, I can't with this. I'm like, why is the door open? Like, who just leaves the door open?
Right, no privacy, yeah.
Because then you can hear what's going on in there. And it's just weird. And so the whole time they're drinking, Nathan and Haley are just standing outside. What? Like, they've drank 20 times and yet Nathan and Haley are still outside being awkward. Just what? Standing there, not even looking at each other. Like, what is this? Like, I don't think that was really written right. Like, they should have just gotten home and then they have their Nathan and Haley, and then you can go to Brooke and Luke or Brooke and Chris, because otherwise it just doesn't make sense, does it? And now Nathan and Haley are gonna have a scene.
Yeah, so Nathan mentions the last time, or no, she mentions the last time that they watched the meteor shower together when they were outside. And Nathan tells Haley that she looks nice tonight. And he just wishes they could have spent more time together without all of this.
What is he talking? Okay, so I had a problem with him with that. It says, you say here you wish you would have spent more time together, not with all the past memories. And I'm like, but you weren't even talking to her this whole night. What are you talking about, Nathan?
Right.
What? And then he said, what's she thinking about? And she said rain. She's praying for rain. I'm like, oh dear God.
Yeah, he said he just wanted to hang out in the present for tonight. But yeah,
that's
like
what
you
I'm
said,
saying. It's weird.
And then back with Lucas and Rachel, he makes a basket and he ends up winning. Rachel says they could play a new game. And she asks about strip basketball. And Lucas says he always figured if he met the devil that she'd be hot and holding a basketball. But he's going to pass. And Rachel asks if it's because Brooke's on the date. And Rachel tells Lucas to take his shirt off. And he's still unsure. So she tells him she's not going to touch him and calls him a sissy virgin boy.
I know. I was shocked with that.
And tells him to take his shirt off again. He finally does. So she tells him that if Brooke is the one, his soulmate, then he should, call upon destiny or providence or whatever forces, are going to bring them together.
So when she blindfolds him and then she wants him to, make a basket and then that'll tell if Brooke's the one. I'm like, really? We're going to go off of a basketball shot? Because first of all, we all know that probably wasn't him that shot the basket. But I'm just like, really? You gonna put your love on the line?
Right.
And then he makes the basket. And then when he takes the blindfold and the shirt off of him, he looks and Rachel's naked. Well, topless.
Yeah, this is very love and basketball here. And she tells him that this is his second time this month that he's given her a complex about not sleeping with him. And he tells her not to sell herself short. She says guys are unbelievable. Girls don't give it up and guys pressure them, and girls do give it up and they have self-image problems or they're sluts.
I like that he told her, first of all, he covered her up and then he told her to get dressed. I liked that because I'm like, shows what kind of person Lucas is.
Yeah.
And who we all want him to be.
And then she tells Lucas that her last school they had names for guys like him, gay, of course. And the non-exclusive Dane is a dream come true for most boys. And she asks, what's with the dorks of Tree Hill? Every guy's tragically hung up on somebody. And it makes it kind of hard for a girl. And Lucas says if she's not the girl. Or if she, no, she's the girl. And they go back to the apartment where Brooke says Lucas is the one for her and Chris is still there.
Says, actually, my name is Chris. I'm like,
yeah. And she pushes his face away from her with her hand, saying for him not to be like that. And he says for them to have another beer and toast her sketches. And she says, nice try, but he can go now. He says fair enough because it's late. He's attractive and it scares her. He wants to use the bathroom first. And then he tells Brooke he envies her having found someone to trust and confide in like Lucas. Someone that won't take advantage of it, sort of like Haley found Nathan. He's sure it'll work out for them too. And then back on the balcony, Nathan tells Haley he wants her to know that he doesn't blame her for any of this. She didn't want to get married.
Okay, that's what's weird is like he was like, he just didn't want to get married. And I was like, what? If she didn't want to get married, she would have said no. But also, season 2 was not strong. When they got married, it was not strong at all because they had problems from the start. And so that's why it is weird because their marriage wasn't strong. So when we think of when we think of them getting married, it's like, oh yeah, it's Nathan and Haley, of course. But it's like, no, they actually but their marriage was not strong at all. But yeah, it was just kind of weird because they said that. And then she said that she did. She was just scared, which we saw her be. Remember, she didn't want to leave home. And, it's like, well, her parents were like, well, you're married, time to go. And, he said that, he promised everything would be okay. Stop promising her things like that.
Yeah.
Especially when it's not true. You can't fix everything and protect her from everything. Plus, she did this whole thing on her own of cheating.
Yeah.
And running off. I mean, that was on her. I don't, that's her problems. But then what I thought was weird was when he said that this isn't the life you would have had if I hadn't come along. Like you should have had more. Like, you'd be on tour and stuff. And I was like, what? First of all, I had an issue with this because I'm like, Nathan, you're rewriting history because what we saw was Haley didn't start singing until you came along. She sang in the cafe only to you. She never sang before. And then when they got married, then he pushed her to make it a bigger deal. Like
he bought that organ for her.
He's the one that pushed her. What is he talking about by saying, if I hadn't come along, you'd be a big star? No, she wouldn't, because she would never have sang.
The confidence.
She would never. Peyton would not have known she could sing because she would never have sent that demo.
Yep.
I was like, what are you talking about, Nathan? I don't even think Lucas knew she could sing because they never talked about it. Not until she sang in that cafe to Nathan. That was the first time we got a glimpse of it.
Yeah. For some reason, like, he's like taking the blame off of her and playing on him, which he shouldn't be doing. But yeah, so.
But it made me upset of the fact that why are you rewriting history? That's not the way it went.
Yeah, well, we know the writers here are just kind of not, remembering previous plot lines here. They're just, making it up as they go along, basically.
I feel like that was a major one. Like, how did she start? It was Nathan.
Yeah. And Haley brings up the moment that she left for the tour because they were playing this at this club in Illinois, and Chris decided to do a cover of an 80s song called "Missing You."
Where were they?
Just at a club in Illinois. Illinois. Am I saying that right?
Illinois.
Oh, yeah.
S is silent.
Yeah, I'm very tired.
Well, all I got out of this when Haley was blabbing, because I'm not on Haley's side, was she was she had a stage fright moment. That's what I got out of it. I didn't get that she was missing Nathan because if you recall, she was on tour. Deb called her to come home. She didn't come home on her own. So what? I think that's where it's rewriting history because she didn't just come home because, I missed him so much and I love him and I want to be with him. It was Deb called me. I had stage fright and then I came home. That's how it was.
Yeah. Yeah, she tells him that, none of it could be possible without him, and all the celebrity and all the applause and all the pretty melodies couldn't fill the void in her heart of him. And he's right. It's not the life she would have had because ever since she met him, it's been so much more.
Yeah,
So,
because she would have had that life, the tour
Yeah.
life, if
Mhm.
she didn't meet him.
Yeah.
Because Lucas wasn't going to push her out of that comfort zone. He didn't even know she could sing.
Mm-hmm. Then Haley asks Nathan if she can take him to the last place she has planned for the night. And he says that he's going to take his chances because he only has the options of hanging out with her or Chris. So it's a yes to going with her. I mean, he could just go home. He doesn't have to hang out with Chris, but
Why is he? I know, like, he didn't even want to go on this date. So the fact
Mhm.
that he is still there, I'm like,
Mhm.
Nathan, you've ignored her this whole time. Now you're going to talk to her.
Mhm.
And okay, and here's my thing is if you only wanted to just be with her, right?
Mhm.
And not Chris and Brooke, why didn't you just from the start say, let's just go somewhere, the two of us? And Brooke would have been okay with that.
Right.
Because then Brooke wouldn't have had to go on this double date. So
Mhm.
it's just weird that you've ignored her, but then you wanted to spend time with her and you're going to do it now that basically everyone's dates are over with.
Mhm.
I just find that a little strange. But skills, like I said, he's loving the Notebook.
Yeah, because the movie is over and he's emotional. And Bevan asks if he liked the movie, and he says there's so much love.
All she wants to do is make out.
Mhm. Yeah, and he asks if they can cuddle first before they do, and then they go upstairs.
It was funny.
Yeah. And then back with Deb and Karen, Deb has stripped down to her bra to use her shirt as a rope to grab the ladder that is still leaning against a tree some distance away. But they need more clothes, so Karen is the only one with clothes left. But she doesn't want to give Deb more. She already gave her jacket and shoes. And she says that she made a promise to herself that she would never be naked in front of that man again. Damn.
That was good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
And then
but then Deb was about to take her pants and she was like, okay,
Mhm.
keep your pants on.
Yeah. So Deb, or Karen gives her bra, and then Deb's like, "Oh, this is cute. Where'd you get it?" And Karen goes along with it for a second, saying it
I
was
know
Taylor.
they're being so cute. Like,
Yeah.
it's like what friends obviously do.
Mm-hmm.
That was funny.
Yeah, and Deb yells at her just to use it to get the ladder.
That's what I
And
mean. I love Deb and Karen. Like, they're
Mm.
genuine friends.
Yeah. So they end up getting the ladder, and Karen ends up telling Deb that she doesn't want to leave the billboard the way it is. They're better than this,
Okay, now she tells her, it's like,
right?
Aaron, really? You're
Mhm.
waiting. You did all this. And then
Mhm.
now you're going to say, no, we shouldn't leave it like that.
Yeah, Deb even points out that she could have said that before they climbed up there.
Yeah.
And Karen says, "What fun would that have been?"
Which is true. They were having fun.
Mm-hmm.
I
So
think
they'll-
I think what was good for the two of them was they got somewhat of their anger and revenge out by doing it.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm going to be honest. So they decide then to tear off the part of, calling him an ass. And
Mhm.
I think what they left was so much better than
Mhm.
what they were going to keep.
Yep.
Because what it says is actually better.
Mhm. And they left his mustache. But then Payne and Mal take him out home, and Payne gives him his helmet before he goes inside. And that's when his memory kind of resets because he asks what Payne's name is. And just like the first time, he tells her that's a pretty name and says if he ever told her that he used to race cars. And Payne goes along with it again, saying that he hasn't told her.
But she's all sad.
Yeah. And she even hugs him.
So, that's when Mouth finally says that Joe is his dad, Mouth's
Mhm.
dad,
Mhm.
and that's his grandpa. It's like, finally, you're going to tell her.
Mhm.
And that they had a
Yeah.
falling out, but he still
Mhm.
comes to see him, which is nice.
Yeah. And then Mouth escorts Mel back to his room, and he tells him that he'll see him next week. And Mel tells him that he would tell us, what he would tell his son, saying he knows he made some mistakes with him, but one day he's going to have a boy of his own. He tells Mel who he sees as a son to make sure that he's a good man. And Mel tells Mel that he will, and he tells Mel he loves him, and Mel calls him son and says he loves him too. So that was a sweet moment, at least on Mel's side. But Mel knows the reality of it, that's not, he's not his dad. So he's not saying "I love you" to him. He's just saying to his dad. But Payne is waiting in the car when
Yeah,
Mel
but
comes in.
talking about raising a good son, that's what Mouth is.
Yeah.
So in all of that, it was just really sweet. I feel like.
Yeah, bittersweet. Yeah. Yeah, so Payne is in the car, and she asks Mouth, why does he keep coming to see Mouth? He's not going to remember. And Mouth answers, because he will. Besides, he probably doesn't have much time left.
That's the thing is like, yeah, he won't remember, but you will. You'll remember, and you'll remember everything, but also if you don't go, you'll have those regrets, which then they do talk about regrets because Peyton said, well, they have this debate kind of like Peyton's like, well, maybe that's a good thing, not having all the regrets and stuff. And that's when Mouth was like, well, give me the regrets as long as I get the memories too. Which I mean, I see both sides. But if you weren't like a truly bad person, right? You're not going to have like serious regrets of things you've done wrong or anything. So you should be able to have the regrets and memories.
Right.
Unless you're a terrible person. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Peyton mentions Ellie too, and about pushing her away.
Well, and especially like this whole thing, she's definitely thinking of Ellie, and should she give her another chance?
Yeah, because she's on borrowed time too. And then Haley takes Nathan to the roof of the cafe.
Well, what do you think? What would you want? Would you want memories and regrets or no?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, definitely. And then Haley takes Nathan to the roof of the cafe, and Nathan thought she was dragging him to play miniature golf.
Which would be so much fun.
Yeah. And yeah, she says it's gone like their wedding site. And Nathan tells Haley he knows tonight wasn't what she wanted it to be. And she says he was right. She had unrealistic notions about tonight, and she thinks that she just had this silly idea about everything would work out perfectly and she would end up in his arms. And she tells Nathan she's sorry. She guesses she just wanted to hear him say that everything was going to be okay, even if it was just for one night.
So then she shows him the predictions. Or she gets out the predictions. And that's when she was actually going to show her his prediction. And he's like, no. It was like he said he didn't want to see it. And so then he makes his own prediction. But I thought it was cute because he was like using her back to write it. And I just thought it was cute. A moment for them.
Yeah.
Especially because it's like, have they really had a cute moment, in this episode? Not really. So it was nice that they did. And then, but I didn't like what she said, which was, what would keep me from sneaking up here and, to see what you wrote. And then he was like, well, I just have to I'll have to trust you. And I'm like, Haley, why do you keep saying stuff like this? Like,
yeah, well,
really?
I think this would have been a better test of trusting her than, the whole Chris situation. But yeah.
Yeah, but Haley's a good liar. So she could have read what he wrote, but then still acted like she didn't know. Like,
Yeah,
how would he know how would he know if she read it or not?
I don't know. Maybe the way that she would act around him, like maybe they're all good now and they were back together. Maybe
no, she would still get the cold shoulder from him, and she's still working extra hard to talk to him and stuff. So that all would not be new.
Yeah, well, maybe she just would stop being awkward with him and stuff like that if she read it, because she knew that everything would be okay. Yeah, so then Rachel drives Lucas to Rachel's house, and Rachel asks Lucas, has she taught him anything? The night of the end of the night, drunken booty call is the last act of a desperate boy. And Lucas says it's not that, it's the opposite of it. And Rachel asks if it's because she's the one, and she asks if he realizes how screwed up that logic is.
You said they were at Rachel's house.
Oh, I'm at Brooke's house. Yeah.
And it's weird because they say house because it's her apartment, but okay.
Right. Yeah. Lucas says he made the shot, so Rachel says that he made a lucky shot, and does he really think there's only one person on the entire planet that's right for him?
I love when she brings up Peyton. Oh my god, it was so funny because she's like, "What about Peyton? You
Yeah.
had the same feelings for her, and
Mhm.
then maybe she's the one, or maybe you haven't met her." And I just thought it was so funny because I'm like, "See, Lucas, that's a thing. Why are you saying it's Brooke? Like, you have no reason to say it's Brooke. Besides, she's the one. Like,
Right.
what?"
Yeah, so he says it's still her and she's in that apartment, so he gets out of the car. And then Skills goes to the river court where Fergie and Junk are playing, and Junk asks Skills how the date was with Bevan. And Skills asks if they ever seen the notebook, and Fergie asks if Bevan notebooked him, and they laugh.
It was funny.
Yeah.
By the way, I
Mhm.
know you've seen the notebook.
Mhm.
I have not.
Right. Yeah, so then Bevan is on the phone.
Like, I do like old movies, like
Mhm.
set in the past, but I don't know, just the notebook never to me seemed interesting.
Mm.
Like any clip, I'm just like, huh, okay. Like I'm just not like, oh my god, I need to go and see this movie so bad. It's not like Titanic or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just a good movie if you're like a hopeless romantic person, and it's based on the books. I've read both of the books too because there's a sequel to it about their kids. So
Did you watch did you did you watch the movie before you read the books or after?
after, yeah, because the book actually keeps going back and forth between when they're younger and older, so that was a little confusing. But
Well, it's just like Twilight.
yeah, I never read Twilight, but I've seen movies. Yeah.
I never read Twilight, but I also think I somewhat watched part of like the first one and I fell asleep.
Mhm.
I
Yeah, those
just
are good
wasn't all
movies.
into werewolves either.
Yeah, I only watched for Taylor, so
Well, I tried, it didn't work. But I will say the one that actually caught me by surprise was Hunger Games.
right.
And I didn't even watch it when it was a huge sensation and everything. I watched it years later.
Yeah, I read those books as well. And they're still releasing books too, like a prequel book. So I'm reading those and watching the movies for those too because they keep making those as well.
They're making what?
Movies of the prequels, like of the characters before Katniss, basically.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they made one of Snow, and the next one's going to be Haymitch. So
Well, and you know how you say like I don't like non-realistic things?
yeah,
It's like for some odd reason I could watch The Hunger Games.
yeah. I mean, they're both good movies, but yeah, rewatched the Hunger Games a lot too.
So I have a thing, like you know how they were like on Hunger Games, it was like, oh, um, who should she be with? Like what team? And I'm like, isn't there only one team? Because Liam is barely in the goddamn movie.
Yeah,
Like they hyped it up so much as if Liam is in a third of this movie. And I'm like, he's not even really in the movie. I'm like, he's shown like once and then it's those two for a long time.
yeah, and just it was like no competition because uh what's his name? My goodness, Peta was just way better than Gail because
But how would you even know? He was barely in the movie.
well, if you see the last movie, then you'll understand why she just completely cut him out. So
Well, I did watch it, but I'm just like, oh, he's barely in the movie. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna be on a team.
yeah, well, have you seen?
Well,
Have you
plus
seen the other ones?
yeah, I've seen all the Hunger Games, but
Oh.
I also then had a crush on Josh, so that's maybe why too.
Yeah, same.
Like I didn't have a crush on Liam,
Mm-mm.
but I had a crush on Josh.
Yeah. And then Bevan's on the phone. We don't know who she's talking to, but she says that
She notebooked him. Oh,
yeah.
I didn't
Yep.
really realize that was a thing.
Right. Yeah.
To like
I think
notebook somebody.
Yeah, I think it was like a bigger thing back then because I don't hear about it now. And then we see the billboard of Dan still having the mustache, but now with the bottom piece ripped off, it says
What's it say?
Dan Scott for erectile dysfunction. Because that was under
So
his
funny.
picture or, the poster or whatever.
It was so funny.
Yep. And it's perfectly placed too. That's amazing.
Yeah, I know.
Mhm.
They did such a good job.
Yeah. And then we see Haley put the tin back in the brick wall and she tells Nathan thanks for tonight. And she knows it's a little out of the way. They mentioned she promised Lucas that she would meet him afterwards so they can talk about their dates. And Nathan is okay with that. And he just says he'll take off.
So this is weird. I'll
Why?
take off, but then the ending of these two is weird.
Well, he just tells her not to.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be leaving, but instead they're hugging for a very long time because it fades.
Yeah, well, yeah, he says not to worry about the wedding spot, and she's just talking about the trees, the little purple flowers, and then that's when Nathan puts a purple flower in Haley's hand. So he must have got that from the site when they went there earlier, even though it's perfectly intact. If he had it in his pocket.
I know it's not smushed or anything, and also like it's as if he had just picked it up.
Yeah, that's what Joy and Hillary said too in the episode for this.
And when did he pull it out of his pocket? I didn't see it.
Yeah, so we just have to assume that's where it was because he doesn't have anything else on him that he could put it in. But he tells her the roots are gone. It just takes. I mean, the roots are still there. It just takes time. And he says, his line, don't say he ever, never gave her anything.
That's what I mean is they were both supposed to be leaving separately, but now they're just hugging, and I thought they were leaving.
Yeah, well, I thought it was interesting how like his face looked like he was trying to fight the feelings of like liking holding her like that.
I know. I was like, what's up with the face? Nathan, what's up with the face?
And then Lucas gets to the apartment.
Oh my God.
Yep, finds Chris in Brooke's bed.
Oh my God. Okay,
and Chris,
I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of funny because like Lucas was in bed with him first.
Yeah. And Chris gives
the look.
a creepy smile to Lucas.
And then he like puts his arm around her.
Yeah, and Lucas looks heartbroken, yeah.
And Brooke didn't push him away though. When Chris wrapped his arm around her, I was like, Brooke, slap him. What?
Right.
Yeah. What? Unless you like him. Well, especially because that's kind of what she does after is like, and like wants to slap him. So it's just kind of like, why didn't you in the moment when you had a chance to?
Yeah.
In front of Lucas. This is the thing. Yeah, she's not the one because she cheated and she had no problem cheating either. So obviously, like Chris has a way of getting these girls, don't he? Haley, now Brooke.
Yeah. I think the only one he doesn't really get with is Peyton and the main three girls.
No, because she slaps them.
Yep. So then your high and low?
My high was I liked I mean at the end with like Nathan and Haley, like Nathan making his own prediction, which was nice, and then especially because like he doesn't get in that world of Lucas and Haley's friendship and what they do. Like miniature golf and stuff. Like he doesn't really do that. Like that's their thing, and so is the prediction. So it was nice to see him make his own. But even though I already know what it's gonna say, but I did like the ending when they're hugging, even though he's like, I don't know, like I wasn't really sure about that face that he was making. I mean, it was still cute. It was just kind of like, okay, Nathan. And then but I really liked the date of Mouth and Peyton. Because that's the date I'd want to be on. The bumper cars.
Yeah.
What about what date would you have wanted to be on?
Yeah, the go-karts, definitely.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, because I definitely wouldn't want to be at the river court stripping like that when anybody else could just see you. So that was too risky. But yeah, mine, my high and low. My high is well, I definitely liked Peyton and Mouth, but I did like the moment between Nathan and Haley when he gave her the flower like that, telling her like the roots are still there. It just takes time for them to grow. Like he's saying like their love is still there, just has to take time to grow back. And then the worst was when Lucas caught Chris and in
Brooke.
Brooke's bed. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
I was
that
like,
the worst.
yeah, that was the worst for me. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, even though you knew something was gonna happen, Lucas going
Mhm.
in there because he walks in and he sees all those beer bottles. It's like,
Mhm.
what the hell happened here?
Yeah.
And then what would you rate it?
A 9. It was really entertaining.
Not when are you gonna give one of them a 10?
I don't know.
I don't want to give it a 10.
Okay, yeah.
This is also one of my favorite episodes.
Mhm.
It's definitely in the top 10 for me.
Yeah.
And so I just loved it. It was entertaining from beginning to end. I love how they threw the Karen and Deb scenes in there. Because again, that could have been cut out. It could have just been a full episode of the teenagers.
Mhm.
But it was fun watching Kieran and Deb, I think, because this whole episode was about basically at least two people in the scene.
Mhm.
But I just loved everyone's dates, and it was just fun to watch, and it was entertaining. It wasn't too sad. It
Mhm.
wasn't too dramatic. It was just all fun. Like this is one of those episodes you could just watch over and over.
Mhm.
And then who's your best and worst?
Worse is Chris because he got Brooke drunk and slept with her, even though he knew that she had feelings for Lucas, or at least Lucas had feelings for her. And then the best is Brooke because she was the one that told Nathan to pay attention to Haley at the date. So, and yours?
For me, let's see here. For me, I thought that the best was actually Peyton.
Okay, yeah.
I liked how she was, like, first of all, she wanted to spend time with Mel.
Mhm.
Because again, who does that? Like, I just loved that. I loved how she was with Mel. And she didn't know that was his grandpa.
Mhm.
So I loved that. And then and she wanted to take him out, just like this is depressing. She wanted, you know, to have his youth back for a night.
Mhm.
The worst, I'm gonna go with Brooke
Okay.
because Brooke got herself in that position. Okay, if you're getting if too much, okay? Like you should have sent, and also they got wasted very quickly because Nathan and Haley were still standing outside when they were wasted.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, and plus she should never went on the date in the first place if she wouldn't have picked him.
Mhm.
She should have sent him away right from the start. So,
Well, she tried to, but Haley wouldn't hear it. So.
no, but I'm saying why are they on a double date?
Mhm.
My whole thing is she should have sent those two off on their date and then told Chris bye and shut the door and she can go to the mall by
Mhm.
herself. Like there was no reason that she needed to be on this double date because nobody else did a double date. And there's
Mhm.
no reason that she needed to be with Chris. So,
Mhm.
and also the fact that she picked Chris from the start. So it's kind of her own fault. And also, what drinking leads to.
Mhm.
She should have definitely slowed herself down at least.
Yeah, because this isn't the first time she's done this. So.
Right. And again, if Lucas is the one, shouldn't you
Mhm.
be drinking and celebrating with him, not with Chris?
Right.
So
Yeah, because she wasn't even concerned that he was out with Rachel. So.
I know this whole episode, it wasn't what's he do like the whole
Mhm.
time. Lucas was like, "What's she doing?" Blah blah blah. Like
Mhm.
he was She was
And
on
he
his
following
mind
her.
the whole time.
Yeah, he was even following her. So,
Well, just home.
mm-hmm.
He didn't
Well,
know where else she went.
Well, like he was at the house at the beginning when they left, and then he was there later on too. So he like
Yeah,
went
he
there
only went.
twice.
He only went to her house. He didn't.
Mhm.
He didn't like follow her everywhere. But I was just like, the whole time he was with Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
Brooke was, she was still on his mind. But for Brooke, Lucas was not once on her mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like that because if you don't want him, let him go and be with somebody that he wants to be with
Mm-hmm.
and that deserves him. Like, I just don't like the games. And she's still playing it in this episode. Not telling him, not even having the courage to tell him that, oh, Rachel picked you. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it was just so annoying. But yeah, I would say definitely Brooke was the worst because she shouldn't have been playing those games.
Mm-hmm.
Because now look where it led her to. Think about it.
Right.
If she would have just picked Lucas from the start,
Mm-hmm.
she would have been in bed with Lucas and not Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't care for it. So I didn't care for her in that moment either.
Mm-hmm.
And also she didn't slap him.
Right.
I was waiting for like, okay, I could get like when you're drunk, but then obviously when she wakes up, she's not really drunk, at least not
Mhm.
that wasted.
Yeah,
So
hungover.
you would have, as soon as you would have saw who you were with, it would have been like, oh, like pushing him away or something, but she didn't do any of
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
So, she's kind of worse for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's the next episode?
Episode 9, the worst day since yesterday, which
Yep.
just makes sense with this, but yeah.
Mhm. All right. Thanks for listening.
Yep, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Duo Chat. If you want to chime in with your opinion about the episode and the show we discussed, you can email us at duochatpodcast@gmail.com. And to keep up with updates about the podcast, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube at Duo Chat Podcast. And give us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We would appreciate it.